When we go to Africa as continental Africans who've been to, in my husband's country of Ghana, we call these people like me Bintus. I've been to America, I've been to Britain. We Bintus, we got issues. We go back home with an attitude. We think just because we've been to, we know more than the ones at home. That attitude has got to change. And it's one of the reasons why many people are not making it when the Bintus go back home. We also have African Americans who go to Africa thinking, I'm going to tell the Africans, I know more than the Africans. Well, guess what? You're wrong. Because Africans have a lot to teach you too. So there's a need for an attitude adjustment, realization that we have something to offer, but they too have something to offer us. What is needed is for us to work together, because united and understanding each other, that's the only way we can come together in a meaningful way and build the Africa that we want. At the African Union Mission, that's one of my mandates, two main mandates. One, to promote Africa in the Americas, and the second one, to bring the diaspora home by any means necessary. With that understanding, I sat down to ask myself, how then do I go about, one, taking this very diverse, interesting group of people who don't like each other? How do I go about bringing them together so we can go home? Looking at the issues that we are dealing with on this side of the Atlantic as well as the opposite side, I came to the conclusion that the only way we can effectively go back home as African diaspora to accomplish two things. One, yes, to bring the expertise that is needed, but two, I remember 2 years ago, President Trump was addressing the African heads of states, and he said, I don't know why you guys are poor. My friends go to Africa poor, they come back rich. Are you with me? So for those who think the African heads of states are calling you to come home because they just want your money, wrong. We are saying, if you don't show up and you stand up and be counted, next time the contracts go to the Chinese, shut up. How do we give you contracts when we don't know where you are? How do we know about your business when you don't stand up? And that is the challenge the African heads of states are running into. Next Tuesday, I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there's a conference going on in Nairobi. Former Prime Minister of Kenya, Raila Odinga, is now over infrastructure. His advisor called, one of the Afro-Champion advisors called me and said, Ambassador, we need you to put together a coalition of African diaspora who can come in and be together with Afro-Champions, be the first to know of the projects, the developmental projects that are going on in Africa. There is nothing wrong with diaspora organizations building the next Cape to Cairo highway, the next Cape to Cairo high-speed train. You can only get those contracts when you are on the table. You heard my sister talk about, what did you call it? Right. Pan-African Chamber of Commerce, but even when you talk about the single currency, when we have, there's something else you talked about, I just can't think right now. These are all opportunities that are going to happen in Africa at a continental level. You got to realize, because of the African Continental Free Trade Area, for the first time ever, Africa is going to be, the developmental agenda for Africa, we are looking at it as Africa, not as 55 different countries. So this is a tremendous entry point that if you diaspora, if we don't organize, we are going to miss out. The heads of states are saying the diaspora must be in the front along with the Afro-Champions. They're wanting to create a space for us. We got our 22nd ratification, which is what we needed in order for implementation to begin, was 2 weeks ago. We are talking of a baby who has just been born. I want everybody to be clear about that. We are in a beautiful place to be on the driver's seat of the agenda, developmental agenda for Africa. So please, if you hear anything else from me, this is the time for us to organize and stand up and let's take Africa where Africa belongs, on the world stage. But in the process, we're also helping ourselves. There is nothing wrong with you investing your money in Africa, coming back home to America and play golf like they do. That's what we want you to do. So don't look at it any other way. It's a win-win situation. So with that in mind, in Washington, we set out to then say, where do we begin? Fortunately for us, first it was the president of Zambia. He stood up and he gave us 135 hectares of land, which is about 300 acres. And when the president of Zimbabwe heard about the 135 hectares, he said, my sister, why are they giving you 135 acres? Zambia has a lot of land. He said, you see, Victoria Falls, for those of you who don't know Victoria Falls, Google it, it's a beautiful place. It's one of the best tourist destinations in Africa. He said, Victoria Falls is like a woman. When you're looking at her from the Zambian side, you're looking at her back. But when you're looking at her from Zimbabwe, the choice is yours, which view you want. So he proceeded to give us 2,000 hectares. So we have been offered 2,000 hectares of land on the Zimbabwe side of Victoria Falls along the Zambezi River. Prime location. There, ladies and gentlemen, we, the African diaspora, in collaboration with our brothers and sisters on the continent, we are going to build our very own Wakanda.